Good morning, nice to meet you.
What's your name, please?
My name is Amir Ibrahimi, but anyway, you can call me Amir.
Okay, Amir. In part one, I'm going to ask you a few questions about age. Do you like your current age?
Well, that's a controversial question. Anyway, when you get older, it will be harder for you to talk about your age. But because I'm 24, I'm content with my age, and I have a special feeling at my age. I don't know why.
What do you like about it?
Because when you're 24, you can think profoundly about everything. You can understand a lot of things. So the maturity of your mind, intellectual maturity is very important for me because I'm 24.
And at what age do you think people are the happiest?
That's an interesting question. I think children about 10 years, they're really happy because they're carefree. They do not have any special thoughts. So I think the age around 10 or 9, they're really, really happy.
What was the most important decision you have made?
I have made a lot of decisions, but the best decision that I had made is for immigrating to another country. It was really, really hard, but finally I decided to. I prefer to make a decision about this issue. So I'm really happy about that, and it was really a good decision.
Thank you very much. This brings you to the end of part one and the beginning of part two. In part two, I'm gonna give you a question card. In it, on it, there is a question you should answer, and you will have 1 minute to prepare your answer and 2 minutes to talk about it. Here is the question. Describe a difficult challenge you met. You should say what it was, when you met it, where you met it, and explain why you think it is a challenge. You have 1 minute to prepare your answer. Okay, now you have 2 minutes to talk.
For me, finding a new job is a challenge for me. But and now it's a challenge for me because I've been looking for a permanent and promising job, which is commensurate with my skills, and it was really challenging because it's really hard to find a fulfilling job. And nowadays, as I told you, because of the economic recession and because a lot of firms ceased trading, so it's really hard for me to find a job. I can remember that about 2 years ago, I was in I went bankrupt and I didn't have enough money, so I was determined to find a lucrative job, and it was really, really hard for me. I worked hard. I was searching on the net, for finding a new job, and because the working environment is really important for me. I do like a stimulating working environment, so finding that job was really hard for me. And once I was offered working as a PA, but because I'm a programmer, I didn't accept that. And because in my field, in my field, I mean working as a penetration tester or a programmer, if you work hard, you will be able to climb the career ladder quickly. So it was really a controversial challenge for me. I had to think profoundly about this issue, and but anyway, I'm happy about that, because finally after 2 years, after 2 years now, I was hired.
Thank you.
To program for the firms.
Thank you very much. This is the end of part 2, and it brings us to part 3. Do you think parents should give kids challenges?
Well, that's a complicated question, but to me, I think it's really important for parents, and for children's upbringing, because they have to face the problems and issues, and the best way for facing the issues is challenging themselves. For example, I can remember that my father, for my upbringing, he told me to find a job when I was about 14 or 15, because it was really a new challenge for me.
What challenges do you think children might have to face up to? What is the most challenging thing for kids?
For kids, I think the most challenging thing is making new friends, or forming a new friendship with their classmates. So it's really hard, and parents should take care and pay attention to their needs. For example, when I was about 10, I found it hard to make friends. But my father talked to me about that, and he taught me a lot of new ways for making and forming a friendship.
Can parents reduce the challenges that kids have?
Well, of course, it's their responsibility to reduce the challenge, and it's hard. But with taking care of them, paying a lot of attention, it's possible, and they should reduce the challenging. But children should face challenges. For example, I can remember that about even 15 years ago, it was really hard for me to go to a new class. But it was an obsession for me in that time. But my father talked to me, and he persuaded me to enter the new class with new friends.
What are the biggest challenges kids and teenagers in your
As I mentioned before, because we are in not a good situation, and nowadays, and because of the parents' obsessions, children nowadays in Iran especially, they can't talk to each other, they can't make new friends, they can't communicate with each other. So it's really a challenge for them. So we have to pay a lot of attention to that. And of course, for example, one of my friend's son was really, I mean, he was upset and he was really sad. I mean, and I strongly believe in him. So, and he couldn't, because he couldn't make new friends or communicate with his children or fellow students. So I talked to him and I recommended him some new ways and methods to face and conquer this challenge.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the end of the test.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. If I want to score you out of 9, your fluency and cohesion will get an 8. Your lexical resource also an 8. Your grammatical range a 7, and your pronunciation a 9. So your overall will be 8. In terms of grammatical range, you had a few mistakes, and you could have used more complex structures and more diverse grammar. Like you could have used some conditional sentences, causative sentences. You used a couple of passive sentences, and the tenses that you used, you could vary the tenses. You could have varied, actually. For example, you said a challenge that I had and I still have. Instead, you could have said a challenge that I have always had, or a challenge that and something that I have always been interested in, for example. In terms of fluency and cohesion, you could have used a few more connectors, such as words like although, however, moreover, and cohesive devices, let's say. You used good vocabulary, you used very good collocations and even a couple of idioms. But again, I mean, for a 9, you could have used some more. For example, instead of saying, for example, once you could have said, for instance, once you could have said, a good example of this case is, that would have raised your score to 8.5 or 9. But your overall score is 8, right? 9, yeah. And I think you can easily get an 8 in the...
Real, yeah, but yeah, I have to work with grammatical range and using more grammars like although, though,
using more diverse
I have
structures, you know. I think it went well, and we can put it on YouTube.
So 8.5 is not far-fetched. My goal is 8.
No, not
so
at
I
all.
have to work with